What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a pretty gigantic update to Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, we've talked a lot about Jerry Bruckheimer, and definitely seems like there's some wiggle room for Johnny Depp. We've heard about this script. We've heard about how great this script is, how much he's looking forward to it, and there were rumors, back in the day, but we've heard Jerry Bruckheimer say time and time again, we're getting close, the script's almost done, we feel really good about it, right? Things like that. Well, now we got Sean Bailey, who we've heard a lot about, and obviously maybe some of you guys know, very high up there in Disney. He has talked about Pirates of the Caribbean, and he said two very interesting things, one of which kind of describing the outline of what this movie is going to be, and then another was a direct question for Johnny Depp, and he said something which wasn't the greatest, I'll be honest with you, but at least it was something to talk about. So let's go over what he said. First, again, let's talk about this kind of rough outline of what the movie is. He says, we think we have a really good, exciting story that honors the films that have come before, but also has something new to say. And then in terms of Johnny Depp, now I don't know if the question was asked like this, in which case it'd be very disrespectful, but this is the New York Times, so it's not all that crazy. Will the franchise's problematic star Johnny Depp return as Jack Sparrow? Non-committal at this point, Mr. Bailey said, seemingly inching the door open. Now, honestly, when I hear non-committal at this point, maybe I'm more of like a negative Nancy, particularly because this is Disney and because this is Pirates, and it just hasn't been all that great, and Johnny Depp, I guess, right, just in general. So when I hear that, I don't get, I don't get really optimistic about it and say, oh, well, non-committal, that means, he'll be in it. Again, here's what I think. I think they're trying to get him back. That's what I think. I think it's actually more in Johnny Depp's court than it is. That's just like my speculation. I have literally no clue. And it could be the other way around, but just something about the way Johnny Depp's been doing things since the trial, right? To me, probably indicates that he's willing to kind of do his own thing. And if they want to make amends with him, that's on them, which it should be. By the way, it should be. They're the ones who did it to him in the first place without evidence, without going through anything. They just believed one, didn't believe the other. So it is on Disney's side. It is on Disney's, the ball's in their court, I should say. And so, they should be the ones making amends. With that being said, let me again make it clear for any new people, you need him. You absolutely need him. So let's go back to the first quote, right? Now, it's very generic. I will say that. At least when Jerry Bruckheimer talks, it's like, okay, well, obviously we know who he is. We know how much he's involved in Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's kind of like meaning behind it. With this, we've actually kind of heard this statement before with like pretty much every movie, right? Honoring what's come before, but telling something new, having something new to say. Wasn't that like Star Wars? Like, didn't Star Wars do that? And we all know what happened with Star Wars episode 7, 8, 9. I'm going down a very negative road. But again, here's the thing. Why should I be optimistic when all they've given me is reason to not be optimistic, right? But with that being said, I do want to read into that a bit because honoring the films of the past, but having something new to say. So I tweeted this. There's only one way to do it. There's only one way. And they've tried it 2 different times. So I'm wondering if they would do it a 3rd time. This is what it all comes down to. You need to do another Passing of the Torch movie. Now, you did that in 4 with Serena and Philip. It didn't work. You then came back with 5, and you connected 2 characters, right? Henry and Karina, and you connected them to Elizabeth and Barbossa. And then you had Jack Sparrow. So you had a passing because of, ancestors. Barbossa obviously dies. Will gets freed. So really Orlando Bloom could be in future things, right? That to me was like the best attempt. Well, definitely the best attempt of the 2, right? Of 4 or 5. I think that was the best attempt. But arguably you could say that failed too. So, in my opinion, for me, there's only one way of doing it. It's to just try it again. Like, you just have to keep trying and I liked, Henry and Karina. Obviously, maybe they didn't, or they didn't think people did, or, whatever the situation may be. But I think that's the best path. And selfishly, I guess it's the best path because you have Jack still there, because you have to have him. And like not having ancestors of him, by the way, I think that's kind of important, probably to not give him a son or daughter. I actually think that's something that they've probably almost purposely done, and that's why they've connected it to Will. We knew Will already had a kid anyway in 3, but you connect it to Will, you connect it to Barbossa, you're connecting it to outside characters that are still kind of legends in the lore, and then you have Jack kind of still like being around. I think that is the plan, and that should have been the plan. So I don't know exactly what you do in a 6, but I think that's what you should do. The other way of doing it, of course, there is another way. The other way of doing it is something along the lines of, well, if you're honoring the films, it's something as simple as like just mentioning that those things exist, right? Now that is the scariest and worst idea. And this is Disney. I could easily see them doing this. I could easily see them saying, well, look, as long as we have a couple lines in the movie talking about the legendary Jack Sparrow, or they know that Davy Jones happened, or they know about Will, or, whatever, as long as we have that, but I think specifically Jack, and then you could do other things, right? But I could see them saying, as long as we have that, we're good. As long as the character mentions Jack Sparrow, he's still around, he's still doing antics in the world, we're good, we're honoring what came before it, but we're telling a brand new story, we don't need Jack Sparrow. Easily could see them doing it. Now here's where the joy, I guess, comes in. That will fail. That will 1,000% fail. You can buy into the stuff online of like the Amber Heard support or whatever you want to do. I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, I'd wager whatever you want on it. That movie would fail. Pirates does not work and I've said this before, in its current era, it doesn't work without Jack. I think it can work without Jack, but a couple things kind of muddy the water. Number one, you've never said a proper goodbye to your franchise lead, okay? To the one who kind of made Pirates. So you've never done that. Number two, the social situation, stepping back from the movie and saying, oh, you screwed over Johnny Depp and you're going to keep making these movies and you're kind of kicking him out. There's that issue. So you need to make amends with him. You need to put him in this last movie. You could do the passing of the torch. He doesn't even have to be the main character, but I'm not saying put him in for 5 minutes, right? Put him in he's a main character, but he's more like Pirates 3, which is my favorite version of him, where you're not relying on him in every scene. You can rely on other characters. Really, 5 was like that too, but he wasn't very good either, Jack, and then the whole movie was okay, but it wasn't all that great. You need to try that again, and then I will accept Pirates 7 or a spin-off or whatever. I will accept that without him. And hopefully that's the plan. That should be the plan. Doesn't take a genius to come up with this. I'm sitting here in a corner of my living room coming up with it. Like, these people are paid a lot of money to do this. But you have these social situations, obviously. I think that muddy the water. So, hey, good to hear it. And also, this was, I believe, in like response to the reboot's coming, right? Like they are doing it. They know that Pirates is an important franchise. They want it back, and that's what's happening here. So, with the writer's strike, I really don't know what kind of spot, I guess, we're in with like the pre-production, right? Again, it always sounded like the script was like just about done, if not done. And then it's like, well, the writer's strike, well, you could have already had the script done. Really, this is a script that could be finished. This falls under that category. And so now is it the casting? Now is it, just finding all the right people? Hopefully it's that step. And then maybe, next year, late next year, you can start filming it or whatever. But it is cool. It is cool to hear about its comeback. It is kind of wild, especially if you've been a fan of this franchise, right? I mean, we all know just the years that these things come out. It's almost a rare event when these movies release, which is kind of nuts. It's really wild that we're actually going to get one. It's just maybe you have to wait a little bit longer. And then again, the biggest thing to me is if you don't have him in it, then you might as well not have done it, because the movie will bomb, movie will fail. I will certainly talk about it. I'll certainly contribute to that. And ultimately, will I even watch it? Well, maybe for content purposes, but definitely not out of enjoyment. But we'll see. Maybe not even for content purposes. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.